everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy, and today we're going to be talking about the Snowflake method. So what is the Snowflake method? You may have heard of it before. It's a pretty popular term in the writing community, and essentially it's a process designed to outline and plan a book, where each step builds on the past step, becoming more and more detailed as you go. It was created by Randy Ingermanson, and essentially you start very simply, and by working through the steps, by the end, you end up with a comprehensive scene list and outline. Now seemed like a great time to talk about the Snowflake method because NaNoWriMo is approaching, and if you're someone who likes to get all your ducks in a row and do a lot of outlining before you draft, but you don't really have an outline yet, the Snowflake method is a great way to turn your idea into a full outline. This is an especially beneficial process for writers who like a very structured writing process. If you like to really make detailed outlines and work in a very structured way, this is a process that might really appeal to you. It might have less appeal to people who enjoy more freedom or flexibility when they write. If you don't really like to work from an outline, this might not really appeal to you, but it's a process that has really helped a lot of writers, especially those who don't really know where to start in developing a book. So all of that said, let's just talk about the Snowflake method in its 6 different steps. So step number 1 is to write a 1-sentence summary of your story. When I say that each step gets more and more complicated, we really are going to start as simple as possible with just one singular sentence. This is great because you can start this process with basically no development. All you really need is a concept and the ability to describe that concept in a singular sentence. So if we were doing this for, say, Moby Dick, we could say, a revenge-obsessed whaler embarks on a deadly voyage to hunt the beast that took his leg. You don't need any specifics, you just need a single sentence summarizing the general concept and direction of your story. Step number 2 is to expand it into a 1-paragraph summary. So building off your 1-sentence summary, add details until you have around 5 sentences. You can start to identify the key major plot points and can reference the 3-act structure if you want some guidance on those. So some things you might want to include would be a bit of exposition about the status quo at the story's start, the inciting incident, aka the event that kickstarts the story, the midpoint, which is a turning point in the center of the plot, the Act 2 break where your character hits rock bottom and then has to drag themselves back up again, and the book's climax and denouement where the story resolves. You're basically creating some key signposts that later on you're going to bridge together into the next step where we're not going to work with character. Now that you have the general strokes of your plot, it's time to start working with character. At the beginning, we're only going to be drawing the characters in broad strokes, and just like with the plot, they'll get more specific later on. So start by identifying the major characters in your book, and spend about an hour for each identifying their motivations, so what's driving them in life, their goals, so what they want in the story, the conflict preventing them from achieving their goals, and their eventual epiphany, aka the result of their character arc, what's eventually going to help them overcome their flaws and achieve their goal. Keep in mind that you want to have both internal and external conflict, so external forces driven by the plot and internal forces that come from within the character themselves. And repeat this for all the major characters in your story. Depending on the complexity of your story, this could range anywhere from 2 or 3 characters to a pretty sprawling cast. Now we're going to jump back to our plot. With step 4, we're going to expand our 1-paragraph summary into a 1-page summary. Now you're going to take each sentence from your 1-paragraph summary and expand it into a full paragraph. Ingermanson suggests ending each paragraph with a disaster or some kind of cliffhanger that will drive tension within the story, but this isn't necessary. It might depend on what kind of plot you're writing. Originally, you had these different signposts, and now you're going to work on connecting them and developing them so they connect into a full plot rather than just some points scattered across the board. We're going to jump back to character for step 5. The reason you don't do character first and then plot, or all plot first and then character, is because there is a ping-pong effect between character and plot. They affect each other, which is why throughout this process you alternate developing plot and character. This is where we're really going to dive deep into our characters by creating character bibles. Before this point, the stages were fairly simple. They might take a couple hours each, but it was pretty straightforward. But this is where you really have to kind of get your hands dirty and really dive deep into your characterization. Here you're going to create basically a 1-page profile for each of your main characters and around a half-page for your side characters. We've got various posts, videos, and templates on character development that I will leave a link to if you need some more guidance with this step. But do things like dive into your character's backstory to learn what's informing their motivations, as well as their personality and character developments up until the point of the start of the story. Once you've completed your character profiles or your character bible, then you're going to write out a 1-page synopsis for each character. So you're going to summarize your character's journey over the course of the story, but you're going to do this for each character, not just your protagonist. A lot of the time, writers focus too heavily on just their protagonists and not their side characters. It can leave the side characters feeling a little flat. There's this really common piece of advice, which is every character should think they're the protagonist. So here, even for your side characters, kind of give them the time of day. Write out their journey in a full synopsis. This is especially helpful if you're writing something with a lot of characters or with a lot of mysteries. Say you're writing a mystery novel. This can help you keep track of what each character knows and what everyone's motivations are at any point in time. So let's take a quick look at what we've got. We've got a 1-sentence, 1-paragraph, and 1-page summary, as well as our character bibles, and 1-page synopses for each character's journey. This leads us to the final and most detailed step in the Snowflake method, the 4-page synopsis and scene list. Remember how before we took each detail and turned it into a sentence, then we took each sentence and turned it into a paragraph? Now we're gonna take each paragraph and let it grow to around a page. Since you've done all this character development work, you've probably got a lot more detail that you can use to flesh out the story to the point your synopsis can grow to around the 4-page mark. You don't need to overcrowd it with unnecessary details, but this is where you'll get to the point where you pretty much have an understanding of every step along the way. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that synopsis and you're gonna turn it into a list of scenes where you're gonna detail what happens in every scene in the book. You can also choose to break it into chapters here. Now there is more to the process, but these are the general steps. If you wanna learn more about it, Ingermanson has an entire book on the Snowflake method where he goes really in depth on every single stage, but those are the 6 main stages. Now to close off, let's just talk about a couple things to keep in mind while you're progressing through this method. Because this method is so analytical, which is great for a lot of people, it can also cause some writers to get too caught up in the analytics and kind of forget about the writing. Remember, it's okay to go back and revise as you progress through the stages. You might get to the 1-page summary and realize that some details in your 1-paragraph summary maybe don't ring true. It's okay, go back and revise and edit. It's completely encouraged to go back and edit the previous stages as you progress through the story. This is how stories work. They're going to shift and evolve as you develop them further, and it's okay to work with that. You're not locked into everything you write in the earlier stages. And aim for intricacy, not perfection. This may be a very difficult process for perfectionists who want to get every detail right on the first go, but that doesn't need to be the goal. Remember, you're not locked into everything you write. Not everything has to be perfect. You can always change it later. Use each stage as an opportunity to seek more intricacy in your plot, to go a layer deeper into your plot, but don't worry about it being perfect. Each step is meant to be a springboard onto the next step. It's not meant to be something that you get caught up worrying about. Many writers really do swear by the Snowflake method. It's worked wonders for a lot of people, but there are other people where this would never work for them. I don't think I would ever benefit much from the Snowflake method myself, since I'm a pretty tried and true discovery writer, but like most things relating to writing process, really the only way to know if it works for you is to give it a try. So if you feel like this appeals to you, it's totally worth trying. Even if you get halfway through and realize you want to run with something totally different, it might be a great way to help you discover your own unique writing process. So that's a run through on the Snowflake method. If you've ever tried the Snowflake method, I would love to hear about your experience in the comments. Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? Did you have to make any changes? Was there anything you found particularly useful in using this method? If you are in the planning stage for your book, I'll leave more resources on planning and developing a story in the description, including a 5-part series on developing a book that, similarly to the Snowflake method, walks you through various stages of developing a book if you really like that kind of structured story planning. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time.